Hey everyone, welcome back to Red Bandit Racing. Welcome back to the channel. And this video comes as a request. We are going to be rebuilding the Velineon 3500. Now what you're going to need to do this is you're going to need the 3352R rebuild kit. You're going to need your 4-way wrench. I use some kind of pry tool. I mean, you can use whatever you want, but I like just using a small little pry tool. A pick. You're going to need your 1.5 and your 2.0 millimeter hex. Some paper towels and some kind of degreaser. Now, there are a lot of degreasers you can use. CRC makes a really good one. You want something that will clean not just the electrical contacts and electrical components, but electrical motors. There's a lot out there, but some areas you won't be able to get it because, like here in California, we can't get the shipping on it. I guess certain chemicals you can't ship, which is kind of odd because it's CRC. I mean, you can get that stuff almost anywhere, apparently, but not California. So I'm going to be using WD-40 Specialist Contact Cleaner Quick Drying. This is really good, cleans sensitive electrical parts. It's non-flammable and it dries really quickly with no residue. So this is exactly what we're going to use. There's other things that you can use as long as it's safe for electrical components and it's not flammable, you should be just fine. There shouldn't be too much cleaning involved with this motor because we rebuilt it not that long ago, but I'm just going to go ahead and rebuild it again. That way you guys can see exactly how it's done. I'm going to show you guys the instructions and everything that comes in the kit. Also remember to have some Loctite on hand because when you take that pinion off, you're going to want to re-secure it. So I took this out of the Stampede 4x4. Let's get right into it and start taking this thing apart. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're probably going to go ahead and mark this. And I like doing that just because it tells me exactly where I have to put it back on. And I'll just clean it off when I'm done. That way when I put it back together, I know which way this plate goes on. It does make it a little bit easier. I'll probably mark the top just so I know that that's the top, which, I mean, you're gonna know that that's the top. Let's go ahead and take off the pinion. And I do have Loctite on here, but I should be able to get it off no problem. Ooh, that is really tight. Yeah, that's really tight. I may have to heat this up to get it off. Let's see. Let's get my other pliers and see if I can't squeeze this off. Ah, there we go. There we go. Just need a little bit more leverage. All right, let's put that aside. Now we got that off. Let's go ahead and take our bottom plate off. You're going to do most of this by hand, but I'm going to use the gun just to speed some of this stuff up. Okay, so now we got that apart. I'm going to put that aside right there so we know exactly where this stuff goes. We're going to take this cap off. You should be able to just by hand take this cap off. Sometimes you can't get that notch over, so I'll use like a little screwdriver. Carefully pry that cap off. There we go. That's what the cap looks like. So yeah, this is pretty dirty, so that's okay. We're gonna get this all nice and cleaned up. So we're gonna put that aside, and I'm gonna get a couple of rags just to kind of get rid of the dirt so that when we take this off, we're not letting a bunch of dirt fall into the motor. Now that that's off, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take out these 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. And those are all gonna be your 1.5. They are pretty small. Let's go ahead and zip through this part. All right, now that we have those off, go ahead and put those right here. Now, you're gonna take your fingernails, and you're gonna carefully pry, not carefully, but you're just gonna try and pry it evenly, that way it pops off. Just like that. Make sure you take it off carefully, so that way you don't lose anything inside, because you have these bushings that are in there and these spacers. So you don't want to lose any of that stuff. Yeah, this one's pretty dirty, so this one's definitely gonna need a cleaning this time. Didn't have to clean it last time I did it. All right, so we got that off. Now, to get this bearing out of this cap, I mean, if you were just replacing the bearing, you can press it out by using your 4-way wrench. But remember, it does come with a new cap. But if you wanted to push it out, all you have to do is use one of the ends, put it inside there, give it a nice press, and pop it out. So it's really not that hard. The bearing is, doesn't matter which side this bearing goes on. It's the same on both sides. So we're going to put that back in, just like that. I'm going to put that aside. Okay, now we're going to carefully pull out these little spacers that are in there. They're like little Teflon washers. And this bushing. You're going to take that bushing out. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to carefully pull this motor out. Now because remember, this is a brushless motor, there's some pretty strong magnets inside. So what you're going to do is you're going to press it down against the table, just like that. And you're going to pull it out, just like that. This actually looks pretty good. There's not any damage to it. If you guys want to see what a damaged one looks like, I think I have some pictures. If I can find them, I'll post them. But they were from the Max. When we had the motor replaced on the Max, all the windings came undone. Actually, I've never seen one go bad like that. So take that. I'm going to put this aside. Oh, you see what I mean? It's a very strong magnet, so when you put it aside, make sure you don't put it next to anything. All right, now that we've got that done, there's a bearing inside here. If you guys can see that inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it upside down like this, and we're going to take our wrench, and we're going to push down. Just like that. I'm going to pop that bearing right out. And there it is. I wonder if these bearings are even bad. There's a few rough spots. Remember, you got to hold the center. Hold the center and try and spin it. There's a few rough spots. So it's a good thing we're going to replace that. All right, so now we've got that done. What we can go ahead and do is get this cleaned up. And then once this is nice and clean, we can go over and start reassembling. So I'm going to put these parts up here out of the way. Okay, I'm going to put an extra couple of rags down right here. We're going to clean this cap up too. All right, now we got our WD-40. All right, if you guys have gloves, I would wear gloves. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, clean the inside of that motor. I've never used this stuff before, and it actually looks like it's doing a pretty good job. I'm not going to wipe the case down too much because I don't want to mess up my markings. But I am going to make sure that this is nice and clean. Inside where that bearing goes, that's good. Get the inner sides nice and cleaned. You may have to put a little bit more on there. That's okay. Watch your eyes when you do this. Probably can't get all this on camera because I don't want to spare myself with it. But make sure you get the inside where that bearing sits really well. All right, again, like the cap. And I'm going to take that cap, get it nice and clean. I'm just dabbing it right now because I don't want to pull my sticker off. All right, now I'm going to clean the inside. All right, got that clean. Go ahead and take the motor right here. Clean that up. So that's all nice and clean. Just like that. All right, that's clean. Wow, that stuff works pretty well. I actually really like that WD-40 spray. That's really nice. I'm glad I found that stuff. All right, so now let's go ahead and get this aside. put our new towel down. Try to make sure it's lined up for the camera for you guys. All right, now that that's cleaned up, let's go and put this aside. Let's open up this package. Again, this is part number 3352R. Let's open this up and we'll kind of go over the instructions because I think it lists the different, two different Velineon motors. As you can see in this kit, be really careful when opening the package. Yep, there's another screw. This stuff really hides in there, guys, so take it apart carefully. I learned from the last couple that I did. So you got a new cap. Just like this one, you got a new cap, so don't clean this one. Got a new cap. You got two new bearings. Do not use any standard bearing, which I'm probably wrong, but I thought it was 5114. 5114. I think it's 5114. It's somewhere in that range. It's the same size. It's the typical bearing that you would use like on an outer axle of a 10 scale RC. Don't use those. These are high-speed bearings. Do not use those other bearings. Just because you have them, don't use them because you will blow right through those bearings. So you got those. You got your copper spacer right there. You got these screws. We're going to put these aside because we got brand new screws that already have Loctite on them. And you have all these little tiny washers, which you do need. All right. So I know this is upside down probably for you guys, but check out your instruction kit. Make sure you guys read this and go over it because it does show the Velineon 3500 motor assembly, and it also shows the Velineon 540 XL because you can use this kit on both. So the bearings are a 33, let's see here, 3352. They are 5 by 11 by 4. Again, these are high-speed bearings, so make sure you use those. Yeah, it comes with everything that you guys need. Follow the instructions really carefully. It shows you exactly how to do it. That way you don't mess anything up. And it shows you exactly where you need to put those washers. Now, these, it's not going to show you. It may show you on the 540, but it's not going to show you on the 3500. So if you take your motor apart and it has those washers, just put them back on. Just put them back on. They are mainly there as a spacer because you don't want a lot of play inside the motor back and forth. So if you do have a lot of excessive play, you're going to want to tighten up that with these. So, God, there's another one hiding right here. Also remember that there is a spacer note on these. And if you guys read it, you see a little note right here that says C motor spacer note. Now what they're just telling you right here is some motors like the Velineon 3500, some of them may have a spacer in them as you're taking it apart. So make sure you remember where that goes and make sure you put one in. If it doesn't have one, then there is no need to put one in. So just note that, note how you're taking it apart and which orientation you took it apart, and make sure you put that spacer back in. Now that mainly is for end play. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm definitely going to put one back on the inside here because that spacer that came out, I think it was just one. So I'm just going to take one of these spacers and I'm going to put it on the back end like that. Now on the front end, you're going to have to put this bearing in. Now there's a couple ways you can do that. You can drop it in, and I'll show you how to do that. Let me go grab my nut driver. This is actually a good way to do it. It's really up to you. There's many ways you can do this. This way might be the easiest. I believe this is how I did it last time. You're going to take your bearing and you're just going to go ahead and move this out of the way. You take this bearing, go ahead and drop it in here. Just like that. And then you're going to take your nut driver. Like that. All I'm doing is, if I drop the bearing in like that, I'm just going straight down on it and pressing it down in. There is not a lot of force. As you can see, that bearing went right in. There's not a lot of force on that, so there's no need to really push it down. If you're putting excessive force on it, stop what you're doing. It's probably crooked and you're just going to damage the bearing. That went in really smooth, so that everything's fine with that one. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to carefully put the motor back in, and I mean carefully. So you're going to have to make sure you grab it. Do it right here. Make sure you grab it nice and tight. Because it's gonna wanna it's wanna go in really hard. And look, I'm just letting go of the motor. There you go, and it pushes right back up. There is a lot of force on this magnet, guys, so be aware of that. All right, got that in there. All right, so I got my little spacer right there. And I'm gonna take my spacer, my copper spacer right there. Put that in there just like that. Once I have that in there, put this down. I'm gonna get my cap. I put my bearing right there in my cap. Once that's in, I'm gonna go ahead, and this is pretty obvious. You got the notch right here, and here are your wires that stick out. It's gonna go straight over this. Just like that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold it nice and tight, and I'm gonna pull this motor back and forth. There is no play in there. There is no play. And it moves really freely. So that's what you guys want. If it's not moving freely and it's a little tight, take that spacer out. Watch, I'm gonna take it out just to show you guys. See if it actually makes a difference. Take that guy out right there and don't lose him. Put that back on. Put the back cap back on. There you go. Ooh, I can feel it right there. It's really hard to tell. You really have to grab it. Sometimes it might help if you have a pair of pliers. Carefully grab the flat end. That's a really slight amount of play. So that's one way to check. If you have a lot of play, even after adding that washer, it's okay. It could just be, there could be multiple things that could cause that. It could be maybe the wear of the cap, or the wear in the motor or the shaft. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons for that. So don't worry. That's why they give you extra. Just go ahead and throw one more on and check it. And then if it still feels like it's got a lot of play, throw another one on and then check it. Just make sure that you're holding this cap nice and tight, because you don't want it to move. Remember, a little bit is okay if you feel a little bit. You just don't want a lot. You don't want this going in and out too much, because that's going to cause a problem. It's probably going to strip out your gears, your pinion, and your spur. So you don't want that. So now what I'm going to do is, so I don't lose these, I'm going to scoop these up. I have a lot of these, so I'm not really worried about saving them. I'm going to put these aside so I don't lose them. All right, now that they've got that on, we're going to put our new screws in. As you guys can hear, this gun does a great job. I'm going to go back around, see how tight they are. I can go a little bit more. Remember, this cap is not going to come off. Okay, got those tight, got those on. Now that that's on, get rid of this cap, get rid of those bearings, extra parts. So now what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead and throw this back cap on real quick. This keeps all the dirt and debris out of the backside. Just like that, snaps right on. Now what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and put the front back on. And remember the orientation that you had. And before I do this, I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of Loctite on here, because you don't want that plate coming loose. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this. Right. It does help if this thing's magnetized a little bit, which it is. As you guys saw, this is not a hard repair. This is actually pretty easy. All right, so get these nice and tight. These screws I'm going to go ahead and discard as far as the pinion goes. I'm just going to put this on for right now, like that, but I'm not going to tighten it down because I have to make sure that the mesh and everything is okay. Real simple. Do a nice cleaning job on it. Now that that's actually clean, what I can do is take a paper towel, spray a little of that on a paper towel. Now I can actually get this housing clean. And the can. I think everyone calls this a can because it looks like a can. And there we go. That's all nice and clean. Marks wash right off with that Sharpie marks. So it washes right off. But that's it. Real simple. I'll make sure I put all the parts down in the description. And look at that. Real nice. If you guys regularly maintain your motors, they will last a long, long time. If you guys neglect them and you don't change out these bearings and do some cleaning in there, you're going to burn these motors up. Granted, these motors aren't crazy expensive, but I mean, they're still kind of expensive. They're not the cheapest. So do that so you don't have to worry about replacing the whole motor, and this should last quite a long time. But if you ever take one apart and it is damaged in any way and you can't reuse it, just hit up Traxxas, let them know what's going on, and they have a really nice trade-in program. So you can actually send this one in, and they give you a nice percentage off of a brand new motor. But yeah, everything will be in the description. Like I said, all you guys need is your 4-way wrench, maybe a pair of needle nose, your Loctite, your 2.0 driver, your 1.5, maybe a screwdriver, just if you have to pry something off. I keep a pick around just because it helps if I need to pick something out. And your 2.0mm driver if you're going to use a tool, power drill. So yeah, that's really all you're going to need. It's a simple repair. Everything will be down in the description. Hope this helped you guys out, and we'll see you guys on the next one.